McConnell's proposal. Do you think that his proposal will actually end the debt ceiling impasse? But as you've seen, in the papers and the comments, a lot of people are concerned that it's not addressing the real problem. It's just putting a Band-Aid, but it's not addressing the spending issue. What are your thoughts?
I think that's exactly right. But if you look at the alternative of the fiscal sky actually falling and destroying our economy, and a political gimmick which has the president to come back to the Congress 3 times and beg for the ceiling to be extended, I think it's a bad choice. But it has legs, and it could be that the Senate, I never would expect it, that the Republican Senate could be providing the provision that would allow us to get out of this terrible partisan situation.
And further going on to that, while it would be great to end the debt ceiling impasse, we're at the point now where the politicking and the division that we have seen, that you've got Standard & Poor's and Moody's saying we want more. We want to see some substantive change. And they said, a debt ceiling vote is passed, that's great, but now they want more. Do you think that Congress can come together and give what these rating agencies need in order to avoid downgrading Uncle Sam's credit rating?
Well, the ratings are based really on the stock market, which in part is dealt with by the success we're having on Wall Street. Now, everyone knows that Wall Street is making a record profit. Our multinationals are making a record profit. But only until recently have they exercised their political influence to say, stop this nonsense about not increasing the debt ceiling. And again, I don't think that most Tea Party people recognize that Medicaid and Medicare is being used for themselves and their families and their communities. This is not a Democratic only thing. So I think when the communities get a better education, that we won't have to worry about how our credibility marks with Moody. It would be that we would have all Americans coming together, making sensible cuts, raising responsible revenue, and moving forward to rebuild our economy and become the world leader that we used to be.
What would you like to see if you were in that room? What would you like to see done in regards to putting America back on the fiscal path?
That the president would meet with the leaders of both parties and say that we are going to continue to fight for our principles, that having a truce to save the United States of America does not mean that we're not going to continue our fight for the purposes that we have been elected. But there is nothing that is so important that we're going to destroy America because of our differences.
Now, on Friday, President Obama said in his last statement that 80% of the public would support tax increases. What have you heard from your constituents? Are you hearing sentiment like that?
Hell no. Nobody in the world is running around saying that they want tax increases. I think what the president is saying, that once they understand that in order to save the important programs, that there has to be cuts, there has to be reform, and there has to be additional revenue. And once it's presented in that way, certainly people would say, okay, the wealthiest of the people in the United States of America admit that their tax rates are lower than the people who work for them, admit that there are loopholes that hurts businesses because a handful of powerful industry has been able to distort the tax code. And so the president is saying 80% want it. Nobody wants a tax increase, but everybody should want what is equitable, what is fair, and what would allow us to move forward as an economy. Listen, I'm about as partisan as you can get as a Democrat, and I'm not asking any Republican to fall off of those principles. But the whole idea that we are so convinced that it's our way or the highway, that we're prepared to allow this great country's integrity to be shot and not pay our debts, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Do you think that both sides will be able to compromise? I mean, as you know, in terms of any type of negotiation, compromise is key. Will
have to get rid of the word compromise because, unfortunately, a lot of these people in the Republican Party think that compromise is the same as selling out. But if we can find something where both parties can say, see that, I told you I was right and I won, I think we could do that. Those people that are against tax increases, there's no question that we're not basically talking about increasing taxes. We're talking about removing the cut that was given to them on a very temporary basis that expires. And in addition to that, when we talk about closing loopholes, we're not talking about increasing taxes to individuals and corporations. We're saying that the handful of people that have distorted the tax system, that get this preferential treatment, when they close it, that revenue is available to be collected. So when you say, are you willing to compromise, if you would ask me, are you willing to compromise, and I say yes, people would say I sold out. And so, no, it's not compromise. It's taking a deep breath, putting America first, recognize that we're not going to give up any of our party principles, but protecting the United States of America's integrity is something that means that we're Americans before we're Republican and Democrats.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Yes, I want to make it abundantly clear that throughout the struggle for justice and fair play, throughout the struggle for civil rights, the church, the synagogues were always there. Somehow they rose above the partisan issue in the terms of discrimination and segregation, and they all had a commitment to the people that are sick, that are aged, that are vulnerable. They all had a commitment to the lesser of our brothers and sisters. And it's really reaching the point that the silence of these organizations are really deafening. This is especially true when thousands of Americans have been placed in harm's way. They've been killed. Others have come home with physical and emotional problems. All over the world, we got drones now killing people instead of human beings killing people. I don't really believe that the church should be silent. They can't tell what countries we're having our youngsters die in. They can't tell where they located. They can't tell why they're there. It just seems to me that when history is written, the church and the religious leaders are going to have a lot of explaining to do.
What does their silence mean to you?
What?
What does their silence mean to you?
I don't know what it means. You know, God never came to me in the middle of the night and called upon me. I've never personally dealt with a higher authority, as some of them claim that they have. But I do know this: the miracle of birth has to be something that we have to protect. And as a child grows, one thing we should do is say that the child shouldn't be killed. I mean, it's one thing if you talk about self-defense and national security, but if you just don't care enough about all thousands of young people that have died, if their parents don't know why they've died, it says to me that all of the things that we thought about with the church. Now, this doesn't mean that on abortion and same-sex marriage we don't hear from them. So I know they're out there, but I don't know. I read a good ad in the papers yesterday where the pastors have come and asked that we pay particular attention to the cuts that we have to make certain that we protect these vulnerable people. I think that's good, but a one-page ad I don't think really is what we should expect.
Well, listen, Congressman, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Same here.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.